powered by Sports Interaction, Canada's sportsbook.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Game Over Vancouver. Uh, Canucks lose yet another game. We are now at 4-8-3, which I think we can conclusively say is bad. And I am joined by one of my favorite hockey people and my Zone Time co-panelist, Tic Tac Tomar.
Hi. That was an interesting game, wasn't it? Also, for those who are watching and are confused, I'm not a Boston Bruins fan. I'm just a person who honors their promise and got to my goal for Easter Seals. So thank you for those who donated. But yeah, wearing a Boston Bruins shirt, which is awkward. But hey, the Leafs won that game, which is not awkward, which is awesome. I would have been really upset if they lost. Which, sorry, Sam, but glad they were able to pull that one off.
The Canucks gave you a nice little panic attack to start. I don't think you were very happy in the group chat when they went up 2-0, which I think we can all acknowledge they did not deserve to be up 2-0, but I wasn't going to complain.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like because especially after the game before against Pittsburgh, where like the Leafs didn't play horribly, but they also didn't play like amazing. And with all of the things that's happening like or surrounding the game, the Boris Salming celebration tribute was beforehand. Sheldon Keefe had that great tribute, starting all six players of Swedish descent on the Leafs like that game. And you think, okay, maybe things are gonna go pretty well. Like I want to say it was like the first or second shift. Like the Leafs were just like in the Canucks zone, just like cycling the puck and getting chances, and then the puck rushes down the ice, and then they score, and then they score again, and it's just like okay, here he goes. Like this is just like like the Murphy's Law like formula of Leafs game, where like even when they're playing well, they're still losing the game. But to Sam's point, that she's mentioned on Twitter a lot, no lead is safe in Vancouver land, and we got to see that firsthand. So
It
that was
was
cool.
it was pretty funny when they went up 2-0 because we actually had the same reaction. You were like, "Oh my god, here we go, we're losing," and I was like, "Oh my god, here we go, we're gonna blow another lead."
Yeah, it's
Um,
hilarious. Yeah,
yeah, so 2 goals for the Canucks in the first period, 3 goals for the Leafs in the second, and frankly, I don't think the Canucks were very good at all this game. I thought the flow of the game was completely dominated by the Leafs. The score was closer than it should have been. Spencer Martin was, you know, decent, put up a good
Math
show.
Matthew should have had a hat trick.
Yeah,
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 like there were
absolutely.
two solid save. So after the first power play goal that Matthews scored, I want to say Spencer Martin made two solid saves on Matthews, one in the second and then another one in the third. So like yeah, like he was not the reason why the Canucks lost like at all. In fact, he to your point, Sam, he made it a lot better than it could have been.
What did you think of the scoreless third period?
That was see, and this is the Leafs in me. I was waiting for the tying goal. I was waiting for it, and I thought Connor Garland was gonna get it. But Shalgren deflects a shot. Brock Besser had a great chance, but it went off the post. So like the Canucks like had their moments, and again, even though the third period was greatly dominated by the Leafs, like there was just stretches and stretches just in the offensive zone. I think the best thing about that it wasn't just like seamlessly like stretching and circling the puck. Like the Leafs were like getting pucks on net, actually creating chances. But like in my soul, I was waiting for it. I was waiting for like the okay, here comes the breakaway, or here comes the odd man rush that the Canucks are going to use to tie the game. But it didn't happen. Despite the power plays, Timothy Liljegren takes a delay of game penalty. Zach Aston Reese gets called for running into Hoglander. That was an interesting call, but yeah, the Leafs they attacked. They were able to defend when they could. Yeah, I was to be honest, I was really surprised that one that they couldn't get another one, and I think that speaks to again what Spencer Martin was able to do and gave the Canucks the best chance to stay in the game. But hey, it worked out well. But yeah, I was really surprised there wasn't any more goals.
Yeah, I think I was surprised the Leafs didn't run up the score a little bit more, but like you said, Spencer Martin from Oakville playing in front of family and friends tonight had a really good performance. Bo Horvat scored the first goal. I like to say his girl dad energy.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah,
What team is Bo Horvat going to be on? And like,
I can't even deal with this. Okay, I can't
because
even deal with this.
he's having a great start to the year, and it's just like, huh?
The funniest thing is that if you go back to Canucks, even like the Canucks official Twitter account, if you look at any tweet they had in the first few weeks, everyone was hating on Bo Horvat for some reason. They were like, Horvat is having a terrible start to the season. He shouldn't be the captain. He's awful, blah, blah, blah. Like,
Yeah.
get rid of him. The man is currently on pace for 71 goals this season. He is only behind Connor McDavid in terms of goal scoring. He is the second leading goal scorer in the league. And I think very possibly because they decided to commit $8 million a season for 7 years to JT Miller, who they thought was going to be their 1C. They are now actually going to lose their arguably 1 or 2C. Like if you want to have an argument about Bo Horvat or Elias Pettersson being the 1C, then whatever, but it's clearly not JT Miller anymore. Like he was taken off and put on the wing again tonight. Guy can't play defense to save his life, which we'll come back to in the second segment.
I mean, at least Miller scored. He did his job, right? So
the point though is like, I get it. He's a point per game player. He's scoring, but like he has been on the ice for more goals against than goals he has scored. So like at this point, anyways, we'll come back to this. We'll come back to this in the second segment. I'm seeing a lot of Bo will be on the Rangers.
Man, that's not fair. That's not fair. That's not fair. But like I think acquiring Bo Horvat, like whether it's like it's any point between in the season or if it's like a trade deadline deal, like that's a trade that like takes a team and kind of puts them on to the next level again, considering who he is overall and what he's been doing this season. And for a team like the Rangers, who probably is in a go for it year, considering again what they did last year and how they look this year, that makes a lot of sense. Like what he makes five something like five
right
five
now.
five five. Yeah, so like so they can make the money work, and and considering that the Rangers had their years of like we're going to be bad, they should have like the prospects or whatever to do so. But
and it makes sense for him, like if he wants to go somewhere where he has a shot of winning in the next couple of years, as opposed to wherever he is right now.
Yeah, or just on a team that like that is going to have a deep run. Like you may not be convinced they're going to win, but like hey, like let me like perform and kind of put on a show for at least a round or two in the playoffs, and then I can drive up my price in free agency because GMs like to lose their mind. Hey, you had one great playoff round. Here is $9 million over 8 years. It's out of nowhere. So we'll see.
It'll be interesting to see what he garners. A lot of Devils fans I've seen saying they want Horvat, the team who should have originally drafted him. I want to see. This is my own bias. I want to see if Colorado can take a run at him. Obviously, their cap space is constrained. But,
that would make the most sense.
But that's, Eric Johnson's contract is up at the end of the year, so that's another team where that would make sense. Their top six has taken a step back this year, and so I think that's a team where if they make that work, that would be scary.
Yeah, because who's their 2C right now? Is it Evan Rodriguez?
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah, that's yeah. Yeah, I think Colorado does make a lot of sense, as frustrating as that would be. I'm not gonna lie, and I know Julian McKenzie like gives me crap for this all the time, but like I did have a small epiphany of Bo Horvat in a Leafs jersey. That would be cool. That'd be sick. Imagine like Matthews, Tavares, Horvat, Kampf.
Where are you getting the money from?
I don't know. Once we signed the big four to their deals, I've been, and when I like envision trades, I've stopped like focusing on the money. It's more just like this would be cool, and then I look at cap friendly. I'm like, okay, that wouldn't work. So the beauty of being a Leafs fan for sure.
All right, we're gonna pivot into our second segment, which is kind of an ongoing story. And I asked Omar to tell me what he thought the Canucks ongoing story, or one big thing he noticed, and he was I believe what he said was they can't defend for, I don't actually know if I'm allowed to swear, but I'm going to do it. They can't defend for shit was, I
Yeah,
think, your exact words.
literally.
But
Yeah.
before we spin into that second segment, I'm going to thank our biggest partner, Sports Interaction. Want to bet? You can do it at Sports Interaction, Canada's sportsbook. Football continues, basketball is back, and the hockey season is well underway. Bet pregame, live in play, or on one of our many prop bets made for Canadians by Canadians. Sports Interaction makes it easy to deposit, play, and cash out. Join now and see all sports betting has to offer. Head to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. That's sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. Ontario only, 18 plus. Please play responsibly. Um, sorry, Avery and Julian, I think, are roasting you and
That's
roasting you in the chat.
yeah. Only in the chat. Julian and Avery wrote. Julian and Avery, I love those two, but like with all my heart and soul. That being said, sometimes there are moments when like things happen to the Leafs, and I can just like hear Julian's laugh in my head. It's such a distinct laugh. Like Julian says that Adam Wild has a great laugh, and he does. It's one of the most contagious laughs ever. But like when Julian and Avery, when those two laugh,
Yeah.
it's like a laugh that connects spirits. And anytime, so when the Leafs were losing that game, I could just hear them laughing from Alberta. I could hear it in my soul. So you know what? It's cool. It's fine. And I know I keep getting flack for that thing I said on Zone Time.
Would
And
it can
hopefully.
for people who don't watch Zone Time,
Oh,
watch Zone Time. You should do it.
okay.
It's
I
great, and
shouldn't
I'm
have.
not just plugging it because I'm on it.
I shouldn't have brought that up.
But in case you missed it, we did season predictions, and Omar's prediction for who would win a cup this year was the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Well, okay. Okay. Well, the question was, what is your Stanley Cup final? And I said the Leafs and Flames with the Leafs winning.
Yeah.
Now, I may have done the Leafs thing. However, it was mostly I had not watched the game yet. Had not watched a single game yet. This is like before like preseason training camp, and I guess my perspective was just like, you know what, this truly is like the all or nothing season where like if they don't do anything this year, like changes are gonna happen with like who knows what happens with Dubas or Keefe or whatever. So like this really is the all or nothing season, and I thought, you know what, screw it. This I never do this.
Yeah,
Anytime we talk, I always say like, oh, Colorado or like Tampa. I've never said the Leafs because I understand. I watch it. I've been a fan for the longest time, so I know what happens once playoff hockey starts. But there's just something I just felt something different. I felt maybe this was the year where they wouldn't just win one round, maybe they'll win a couple. And then the season started, and I watched them play, and I was like, oh my god, I was so wrong. But it's November. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
St. Louis is
Look,
last.
it's not as bad of a prediction as Anthony Stewart saying that Jack Campbell's going to win the Vezina. So there you go.
Yeah, that's a what was that that account that like kind of goes back and looks at like bad hockey takes? Is it like freezing cold takes or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That and also hockey tweets that precede unfortunate events.
Yes. Yeah, those two definitely circle that idea. And you know what? Bless Jack. It sucks. I hope you figure it out, man. But it's been a tough run for him so far, for sure.
Yeah. Well, back to my ongoing story, which is the Canucks blue line is bad. The Canucks overall defense is bad. As somebody who is not a regular watcher of the Canucks, what were your thoughts on the Canucks defense this game?
So one of the most frustrating things that's happened this season is that teams have really, I don't want to say they've learned, but they've noticed tendencies that the Leafs do, especially in the offensive zone, and they've been able to counter that and work against that. I think that's one of the main reasons why Matthews' 5-on-5 scoring has been so down this year. Yes, it's unluckiness and his shooting percentage is very low, and obviously at some point it'll balance out, but like teams overall have done a really good job of clogging up the middle of the ice for the Leafs because we like to find open people in the slot, give them time to kind of have some skill plays there, cross ice passes, cross slot passes, all that type of stuff. So it's been very difficult to have that time and space to do that. So when I saw how much space Matthews had on his goal, my jaw dropped. And then I saw it again, and then again, and then again. And then it happened even Tavares. Tavares had an amazing look to score. Where Kerfoot was handling the puck along the left wall, and then Tavares is in the slot like with the beaver tail, like wanting the puck, and no one covered him. Like he was there alone. Like there was like an empty box around Tavares, and no one was covering him. He had an open shot, so that's why he was like so frustrated that he missed, because like he was uncontested. He had all the time, all the space. And then when you think of like the Engvall goal,
He was
which is
tapping
just
his
like
stick on the ice.
like I'm like watching this, and I'm like, what the heck is going on? And granted, yes, the Leafs are not like freaking defensive stalwarts. Like no, like there are moments where like this. I want to say like one of the power plays in the first period, like Bo Horvat just like snapped and then just like busted through both Marner, Matthews, and Tavares and got a chance on Shalgren. So like the Leafs aren't perfect, but like man, the space that the Canucks allow like star players is shocking. So when I'm watching poor Brucey Boudreau like scream and like drop like every F bomb, like every other word is the F word when he's talking to the team, I'm like, man, I don't blame him. Like it was like shocking. Like when it comes to when it came to like generating scoring chances like in the slot, I think this is one of the easiest times the Leafs have had, which again speaks to how good Martin was today.
Yeah, and I don't know if you follow the Canucks defense. It's very hard for me to call it the Canucks defense because they don't really do much other than
the ones who play on the blue line.
Yeah,
call it
yeah.
that.
But for whatever reason, the Canucks continue to put Riley Stillman in, and he is not good. Like both Kyle Burrows and Jack Rathbone have played better games this season, for whatever reason, cannot get into the lineup. And Stillman is not good. And the other person who I thought was atrocious tonight, I'd love to see scratched over one of those guys. I get that he's making like $8.25 million. Oliver Ekman-Larsson.
Here's another thing too. The person that I was scared about the most did like nothing. I didn't notice him at all. Like Ilya Mikheyev did like nothing.
Yeah.
And it was funny because the broadcasters were talking about like, oh, they put McCabe on the top line for his speed. I'm like, I didn't notice him once. Like he had like one moment, I think where he was kind of like battling with Kerfoot a little bit, like heading towards the net. But like besides that, like nothing. Like Pedersen, I only noticed Pedersen when he had his shot blocked by Jordy Ben. Like, and let's go back. Jordy Ben, so that end of the game right there. Like, like yes, as a Leafs fan, I'm waiting for like things for a mistake to be made. But when Jordan T Ben scored the goal, which ended up being the game winner, like that was a well-timed timeout because like man. And again, another thing, Jordy Ben defender having all the time and space to go right in front of the net and just get this puck that ricochets off the boards and just score. Like easy tap in. So like I don't know. Like, his playing style is definitely one thing, but like yeah, when it comes to like the actual roster decisions too, it's like, hey, what the heck is going on? Actually, random question: how old is Riley Stillman? Is he an older person?
That's a great question.
It might be one of those like,
know
veteran.
how old he is. I thought for sure in that trade he was like basically going to play for their AHL team, but no.
Yeah.
The only thing I know about Riley Stillman is that he's Corey Stillman's kid.
Yeah. I think that the only like defenseman who had like a decent game was like Luke Shen.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Another person who I thought was going to score because, but
I mean, he did all the work on that first Bo Horvat goal.
Yeah, literally. So man, like it's definitely
Stillman's 24, says the chat.
Oh,
thank you, Major Moose.
Okay, well, but hey, it's a loss, and it's a loss when it comes to defense. But Sam, I've been telling you this since the beginning of the season. After this loss, the Canucks are now, let's see, just looking at the league standings, they are now 4-7-3 with 11 points.
4-8-3.
4-8-3 now.
Going in, yeah.
Okay, wicked. So that means, assuming things have changed, that they are still 28th in the league, and that
impressive.
is good Connor Bedard numbers. Connor Bedard. Listen, I'm just saying, Connor Bedard. If you are bad this year, be bad.
Yeah.
Just leave it. If I'm Chicago, I'm seething. If I'm Arizona, is Arizona still in a playoff spot? I am mad. Philly, I've talked about Philly. I don't know what the heck they're doing, but Vancouver, they're in that sweet spot.
Yeah.
So yeah, right now it sucks. But listen, Connor Bedard. That's all. Connor
Bedard is apparently selling out WHL games everywhere he goes. The WHL commissioner said today he's never seen anything like it. So yes, I'm with you. If they're going to be bad, this is the year to be bad. And like, even as a Canucks fan who I'm telling you now, they're never going to have a first overall pick. They're not going to get Connor Bedard. Gary Bettman will never let that happen. This is still the year because you could get Michkov or Fantilli, who would be number one in any other year. So if you're going to be bad, this is the time to do it. And like, I don't want to get told I'm not a real fan for this. I think that's, first of all, don't ever tell anyone they're not a real fan. It's a really stupid position to take.
Not a real fan for what, though?
Oh, for wanting them to lose so that they get a higher draft pick.
That makes no sense. All the players you love, all the players that you love in this league were obtained, like the superstar players.
Yeah.
Unless, we have a great drafting department. All those star players were obtained from the lottery.
Yep.
Crosby, Matthews, McDavid, McKinnon. Like, stop it. You're not a real fan. That makes no sense. And you know what? If that doesn't make you a real fan, then fine. That's cool. Because Matthews, you saw it firsthand what a first overall pick can do. Yes. Oh, but the Leafs haven't won anything. Yeah, okay, you're right. But still, like, a player like Bedard, man, that's freaking game changing. So
yeah. This is the season to do it. Yeah, I hate when people say that. I think I've said this before. I want the Canucks, if you're going to start the season as poorly as they did, just keep going. Like, You're already there. We're used to it. You've like been accidentally terrible for 8 years. Why not just set a record? I want them to set a record for losing.
Yeah, and then just tell everyone, hey, this is part of the plan. Mr. Rutherford, why did you do this? It was all part of the plan. Don't worry. Everything. There was a moment where the camera was focused on Rutherford. I think it was after the tying goal, maybe.
Yeah.
And he looked so upset. I'm like, no, dude, come on, smile. This is good. This is great. This is what you want. Believe me, this is what you want. Unless you fall to 8th or 9th or 10th or whatever.
Which if judging on the Canucks history, entirely within the realm of possibility. Okay, moving into our third segment. I want to ask you, and if you don't already follow Omar, please go follow Omar on Twitter at TicTacTomar, one of the best follows on hockey Twitter.
Thanks, I try.
Also, please follow at SDPN Sports. Don't follow me. I'm very annoying. I don't want you to proceed.
Follow Omar. Follow SDPN. Don't follow me.
Unfollow me.
Unfollow me.
At the beginning of the season, when there was a lot of angst in Leafs Nation, and it's kind of comes and goes, I put up a poll where I asked if Bruce Boudreau would get fired first, or if Sheldon Keefe would get fired first. What are your thoughts on the coaching situations now as it stands?
So it's very interesting because the situations are similar, but they're also different. They're similar in the sense of expectations, right? Like the Canucks expected to be better this year. I'm assuming they expected to be, in the playoff hunt. And when you look at the Pacific Division, which hasn't been dangerous for a while, the floor was open for them to contest for a playoff spot. And the Leafs have expectations because they're the Leafs and they've had these great players for the longest time, but we can't get out of the freaking first round. But at the same time, there's a difference when it comes to the dynamic between GM and coach. Whereas, in Toronto, Dubas and Keefe have a strong relationship. They won together in the AHL with the Marlies. They've been working together for the longest time. Whereas in Vancouver, Boudreau was hired, and then Rutherford came in, And it's never seemed as if Rutherford and Brujo have kind of seen eye to eye. And there's been never been a moment where like Rutherford's kind of like, I don't know, reestablish his confidence in his reassurance in Brujo on what he's doing. It's always kind of seemed very like standoffish, or it just isn't there. So
I
from
would
that
actually take it a
sense,
step further. I think Rutherford's been flat out, I think, borderline unprofessional in his public comments about Bruce Boudreau.
yeah, yeah. So it's like, so you look at that and it's just like, okay, well, I think Boudreau's probably going to be the person to go. But as we've talked about, like, on in many different platforms, many different outlets, like the coaching, Sam and I have been talking about like the defending and the positioning and be putting players in different situations, but like the players that the team has right now just isn't working, and the collective of what they're trying to do isn't working, and it's an issue that goes beyond Bruce Boudreau. Like Sammy made the joke that like Scotty Bowman could be coaching and they still be losing the game, and I don't think that's hyperbole whatsoever. So the issues on the team are far beyond the coach, and if you're going to fire the coach to have the same result where they're going to continue to lose, then it doesn't really make sense to fire him. Just leave him there. Again, Connor freaking Bedard, man. Like I feel like at some point they just need to realize, listen, this season sunk. We tried it. We thought it was going to work. It wasn't. Let's just be bad. Let Bo Horvat score as many goals as he wants to. We'll trade him at the deadline. We'll get a whole bunch of picks and stuff for him. That'd be great. So I think, I think it will end up being Boudreau because again of how like open Rutherford has been about it. I don't think that's the right call, but I definitely don't see a realm where Keefe is fired mid-season unless it's like horribly wrong. And Keefe has not had a perfect year. Like there have been a lot of things that Keefe's been doing this season that's kind of made me like, raise my eyebrows and stuff. And even like this game was the first game where he finally like split up Matthews and Marner to see how things can go there. So like, it hasn't been perfect. There have been some ups and downs, but like in actuality, I think it's going to end up being Boudreau, but I don't think that's going to really do anything or have the effect that the Canucks want.
Yeah, I find the whole dynamic in Vancouver really strange. Like, Rutherford just consistently pins losses on Boudreau and the system and having a bad training camp. Dude, it's November. It's November the 12th. Like, forget about training camp. I don't care. Like, that's not the issue. Like, Rutherford has been honest in the past about how poor this roster construction is, and for whatever reason now he's decided that Boudreau is the fall guy. I get it. He's not your guy. You didn't hire him. He's ownership's guy. But like, I find the public comments he makes about him really off-putting, and it's a bit tone deaf in a market where Boudreau is shockingly popular for a coach, and also in a market where I think everyone knows he probably isn't going to get fired because they are literally still paying Travis Green. Like, what are you going to do? Pay two coaches to not coach and hire another guy so that you could maybe get another, like, new coach bump?
Yeah. And then who would you even hire, right? Like everyone's going to say, like, oh, Barry Trotz. But, like, again, Barry Trotz, like, has a system that's the defense first. And the Canucks don't have
JT Miller play in a Barry Trotz.
The Canucks just don't have the players to do that. And it's the same thing when people say like, oh, the Leafs should fire Keefe and hire Trotz. We don't have the player personnel that can fit that or can facilitate that. And even if they do end up changing that, then that just kind of loses like a big aspect of what the team is made up of. There's a disconnect there.
Yeah.
So okay, you fire Boudreau, then who's going to replace him? And again, are you going to be, you want to pay two coaches to not coach with you and then bring on another person? And Barry Trotz, again, assuming he's the answer, like not going to come cheap, especially because there's probably a lot of NHL teams who would want him to be the coach. So I don't know.
If you're Barry Trotz, do you even want
exactly
to coach this team? Like, why?
Yeah. The GM's popping off on you all the time, like blaming losses on you when it's clearly the construction of the team. Like it's I don't want to say it's a mess, man, but like the Canucks just need a freaking direction. They just need to commit to whatever they're gonna do. If you're gonna try to, if you're honestly continuously trying to be good, okay, accept the fact that it's not working. And if you're not gonna try to be good, then cool. Then just stick with that plan, you draft, you get a top 3 pick or whatever, and then you move on from there. But right now, this like limbo that they're doing, where like they're trying to win, and sometimes they play well, and other times they don't. Like it's just not working. And I think now the best thing you need to do is just find a way to, I don't know, to get something from this. You have to try to get JT Miller to be better. You just signed him for 8 years or 7 or 8, whatever.
7 years,
You signed,
8 million.
yeah, man. Like you
Doesn't
have to
kick until
find, you
next
have
year
to.
though.
Oh man, you have to find a way to make that work,
You
right?
know what the
So
best
and
way to make that work? Like my dream scenario
mm,
is Miller keeps on going with his point per game pace,
right.
keeps scoring goals. We just all forget about his defensive flaws. His no trade clause doesn't kick in until the new contract kicks in.
Does
Just
he
get rid
have
of
a
him this year.
wait? Does he have a full no move?
I can't remember if it's full or if it's like 15 teams, but there is a no move.
No way,
But it
man.
doesn't kick until next year. So
They should have traded him
this
last
is
year.
this, I can't. I can't.
Yeah.
The
Oh
the
man.
only good thing is that he's still on a point per game pace, and you could probably foist him off on someone else who wants to win now and like could use the scoring.
Yeah, exactly, and would not care about the deal. What's Edmonton's cap like? I know Ken Holland would not care.
Ken
Holland would
Holland
be like,
absolutely would not care.
yeah, he'd be like, you know what?
Avery's
There's
gonna
one
rage
time,
quit the chat.
there's one time where I was, I used to coach. I used to be the GM of Detroit, and we needed a player. We needed a good player, and we got that player. So because of that, I'm gonna do the same thing and get JT Miller.
I mean, it's
Oh,
not like
Ken,
they
what
need
about
defensive
his
Edmonton.
contract? Right? I don't know. Maybe that could work. That'd be funny.
That's
Who knows?
genius. Everyone in the chat, manifest it. JT Miller to Edmonton.
JT Miller to Edmonton. Yeah,
Ken
why not?
Holland, do it. Pull the trigger.
That actually collapsed laughing at that happen now.
Dude, it would
Like,
be
oh
so
my.
funny.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations on the win. If you guys are watching, hit like, subscribe to the show. Follow Omar at TicTacTomar, at SDPN Sports. I'm at Samantha CP _. The Canucks play back to back. They play the Bruins tomorrow. Demko is in net. Yeah, I laughed when you see you're wearing the Boston shirt because I was like, oh, of course. Like, first of all, it's the Canucks, and second of all, they're playing them tomorrow.
Yeah, it worked out. But hey, worth it.
Yeah, it was for a good cause. Everyone watch the Canucks play tomorrow. I am hoping for a repeat of the time they beat the Bruins 9-3. The Bruins deserve it after the last few weeks.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was good to see you guys. Pray for Connor Bedard. Pray to JT Miller. And we'll see you tomorrow.